say that in the beginning of your career, Yasmeen, that nationalism plus the colonialism that you guys were very freshly coming out of it, did that influence your choices when you went into architecture and the designs that you came up with in the first half of your career?
Oh, absolutely, Atifa, because, my father had served in many, he was very young when Pakistan was created. And because he was one of the few bureaucrats who'd been trained well, so he had the chance of developing many new cities. In Lahore itself, he developed, places like Gulberg and Sabanabad and Shalmi and all the rest of them. But they were all in the vision of the West, because he was sent off to Oxford at the time, and of course he came back very much influenced by Champs-Élysées of Paris and all the rest of it. And so this is what his vision was, and he thought that's where we have to go. And this is what I was trained for as well. When I was in England, when I was in the UK and graduated from Oxford School of Architecture, which is now Oxford Brookes University, this is what we thought we'll do. And because I'd been so isolated in my childhood, I'd never really seen the natives, so to speak. We were not allowed to intermingle with them. Very few close friends who were locals. Otherwise, just kept aloof. But that's how the British had taught, generation of my father. And so I never knew my own culture. I thought there was nothing there because everything that was good was in the West. And so it took some time. And luckily, my husband had been the son of a politician who had done his modern grades at Oxford. And he was a kind of Awami person. So he would go out and he was photographing all kinds of things and so on. And I got a chance with him to go and visit all these beautiful old cities that I'd never seen, the medieval towns like Multan and Lahore and Peshawar and all the rest of them. Suddenly it opened up my eyes as to what great and rich tradition we had, which I had not known about, because I'd been steeped in another culture. And so I think that is something that then stayed with me, right? I mean, I call it a period of kind of unlearning or relearning about myself,
Okay.
and that's where I had to learn more about my own country, more about myself even. And that's how my whole journey for understanding my own heritage started, in terms of documentation and all the rest of it that we went on later on to do.
What did this relearning period translate into actually? Because I know you've done a lot of heritage work. So is that sort of an outcome of this, this epiphany that you got about the local culture in Pakistan?
Yeah. I think, we lived in a kind of a, and most of us live in a kind of a bubble, because we lead such privileged lives. And once we become educated, especially if you've been educated abroad, then my God, you're just above everything, aren't you really? I mean, you know it just as well, Atifa. We don't think that we relate to the people who are around us. And that's something that's very damaging, I think. And I think I had to learn about what was good about my own country, that I did not have to follow the traditions that I'd lived with or had been taught about, that there was another tradition. There was a cultural heritage that was very strong. And that was something that we could learn from. So for me, it was a journey of learning all the time as to what is it that I could do. And luckily, I got chances where I was able to do much that, I wanted to do. So I was just very lucky.